when you are fighting for a cause that is good, you have to have a lot of faith, a lot. It make it stronger because you can't do something like that. Knowing that you can lose your life or your friends or your family without any conviction that what you are doing is good for others. In the period that I left, we were having a war. And the reason of that war was because the government was repressing people, killing and disappearing people, torture them, and everybody was already exhausted of having to see that, fed up of that, and people decide to organize a protest. It started as a peaceful protest, but the government retaliated by taking people, torturing them, killing them, doing all kinds of atrocities. I was starting to observe the streets and what was going on and the presence of the military. And one time I was going home from school and I passed a factory. When I passed it, I saw they had massacred the workers that were inside the Coca-Cola because they were in a strike. And some of them were outside. And through the window, I saw our soldiers. But I called my attention too that I saw USA. And then is when I understood that they were an intervention that was helping the government and financing the military to do what they were doing. And that's called my attention even more, and I came home and I had to reflect on that. I was living at a place where we were very connected. I had a very tight family, and our organization, we looked for each other, and we were there for the same reason.
Sanctuary movement was an effort on the part of many churches and religious institutions across the country to house people who were fleeing death and horrors of the wars in Salvador and Guatemala. She was afraid of being identified here by agents here in the United States who would be favorable to the Salvadoran government, and she could be subject to be seen and killed here. So, but she was willing to take a chance to tell people what she had experienced in El Salvador with her mother, father, grandmother, and sister.
Everything happened very fast in terms of 1.5 years. And it's kind of hard to tell how I felt because there is part of you that has to remain strong. And you really don't have time to do a lot of money during that time because you are trying to make sure that the others are safe too. But when I lost my mother and my grandmother together, I could not even go to the funeral because they were assassinated. But I could not go either to the funeral for safety reasons because We had spoke out. I had been already captured by the military the first time for speaking out. And we could not really go to the funerals of our own families. Father Jim Flynn, came to, I think it was Nashville, in an RV to pick us up with other people from the church, from St. William's Church. And at that moment, I started to feel safe. When I saw him, I started to relax a little bit. And when we got here to St. William's, I lived in the rectory. It was amazing, the caring of the people that I encountered here. I didn't need to speak the language to see it and to feel it.
There were three of us on the motorhome, and we were just so happy to meet him. I remember it was just so exciting on our part, because that was our first physical contact with anybody from El Salvador.
Because we had the same cause and the same conviction and the same fight, we were very united. Our faith had to be greater than us to be able to survive something that we didn't know we could survive. And I'm glad when I came here that I came to St. William and I met Father Jim and the people here, because that's connected some of my faith. Because I knew then that they were looking for us, that they were also trying to help us.
Throughout my studies, I was always in favor of what the church was teaching in terms of social justice. And I guess what led me to specifically to be a sanctuary parish was my priest friends that were coming, several priest friends that were down there would come back occasionally in the 70s and 80s to tell me and others death squads that were active in El Salvador and Guatemala. There were just so many massacres of individuals as well as whole villages and towns burned down in both countries by the military.
Where they captured me 2 times for speaking out. And it was frightening because you didn't know if you were going to get out alive or complete. I think the first time was it was in the National Guard. It was one of the more difficult military headquarters and more aggressive than the others. And they just put us in a separate cell. We were 5 students. They put us in a separate cell, and I don't remember, I couldn't count the time that we were there. But it was more a physical torture, psychological too, but it was more beating and not giving you food, things like that. The second time, it was, I had my daughter, I was sleeping with my daughter. They came and knocked the door at around 1:30 a.m. And it was a different entity, but it was more psychological than anything, because I thought, well, they already know me. They already know what I'm doing. I didn't see a chance to get out. But the 2 times, it was faith. because I couldn't do anything, but I had this peace and resignation and faith and conviction that what I was doing was fair. Los extraño mucho, quisiera ir más frecuente a El Salvador.